This is the newer version of the American Standard Afwall toilet, often dubbed the Millenium. There's something I really don't understand about this version of Afwall, as well as the newer Maderas as well, since they're virtually about the same, just one's wall hung, one's on the floor. Something I don't understand is that the Madera is generally hated, and for some pretty rhyme reasons, but yet the Afwall, on the other hand, is often praised as a fairly good toilet for what it is. Why is that? Exactly? That is just something I just don't personally understand. Why one hates the floor-mounted version while the wall-mounted version gets praise, when they are literally the exact same toilet. Now, you could argue some qualities are better or worse on this, and from what I've seen from these, some qualities are a little bit worse, but let's take a look at it. For starters, the overall design is really nothing special. It really isn't. But it does stand out in a way. Trapway opening is very similar to the modern Madera. Exactly the same. Let's get a look at a flush. Honestly, the flush ain't really much different than the newer Maderas. They're just whatever. Honestly, don't like them that much. But some of them can swirl if on higher pressure, but this one, not so much. Since this is virtually the same thing as the modern Madera, it does carry over some of its qualities. Like the pull factor is pretty whatever. It's pretty mixed sometimes, and it doesn't shred as much as I remember it doing, but that's still something to possibly consider. It's pretty mixed bag pulling factor overall. The performance is honestly not much better. It is a little, and I mean a little better than the Madera, but that's not really saying much. One thing I will argue is that the Bowen's is a lot worse than the Madera, in which the Madera is pretty crap anyway in terms of ballrooms, so this is worse. As you can see, it takes a little bit to kick in, but the back rim especially struggles, and even the front can struggle, which is pretty pathetic. And that's pretty much the modern Afwall toilet. I mean, there really isn't much else to say. It's virtually the same thing as the floor-mounted Madera, but it's wall-hung. That's literally the only difference. I still don't completely understand why people really stand this toilet when it's the exact same crap as you get with the modern Madera, but I guess it is what it is. But let's grade it. The overall design of the Afwall is really nothing too special. It stands out in a strange way, but you know how most wall-hung toilets are, and honestly, this one doesn't look too entirely pleasing. There's some cheapness to this. While it is unique, it just looks kind of cheap at some points. I have to give it a 4, honestly. The quality control, similar to the new Madera, is crap. I definitely noticed the Bowen's is definitely a lot worse on this one compared to the Madera, which is very strange, and some features just act very strange. But the Madera has the same problem as well, so there's that. It gets a 3. Compared to the Madera, the consistency and design choices is fairly decent compared to that of the Madera. It definitely looks the same most of the time. Sure, you might get some defects and some weird trapways here and there, but compared to the Madera, it's not that common. I give it a 7. The trapway is the exact same as the new Madera, except it's wall hung. It honestly ain't that much different otherwise, and I give it a 5. It does have a chance to swirl and all that stuff, but only on higher pressures. Very similar to the Madera. So just like the Madera, I'm also scoring the flush a 5. The pulling factor seems to be a little bit more consistent compared to the Madera, but only by a little bit. I definitely noticed this doesn't shred as much compared to the newer Madera, but it's still not anything to write home about overall. I give it at most a 6. Like the Madera, this thing has some weird issues clogging every now and then, but compared to the Madera, it's not as frequent, but I'd still give it a 5. As if the Madera didn't have crap bowrings, the bowrings on this is just absolutely terrible. I don't know what it is about this Afwall generation, but it just has some of the worst bowrings I've ever seen of an Afwall. And keep in mind, this is the exact same design as the Madera balls, so what gives? Why is the bowrings worse? I will never know. It gets a 2. I'd say due to some of the quality issues and stuff like that, and the performance not being so completely top notch, survivability of this thing is just about the same as the Madera, and I had to give it a 4. Let's talk about the overall value of these new Afwalls. What's the difference between this and the Madera again? Because they're basically the same toilet. This is basically the Madera, but wall hung. It carries over most of its questionable qualities over to the wall hung bowl. Some slightly better, some slightly worse. And that's just kind of how it is. Honestly, just like the new Maderas, this thing really is not that special, and has a lot of bad qualities that do drag it down similar to that of the new Madera. It really isn't that much different, guys, I promise you. Stop pretending it is. For the value, I give it a 3. The final score of the American Standard Afwall Millenium or the Modern Afwall is a 44 out of 100. Okay, this thing has 1 score over the Madera. It's still the same toilet. It's the Madera, but wall hung. Yeah, I definitely don't recommend buying one of these because this thing has a lot of questionable quality control issues that just kind of drag it down. Some qualities are slightly better, while others are slightly worse. It really isn't that much different, and honestly, I would just stay away from this as well. This thing really is not that special, guys. I promise.